What's going on, guys? This is Bruce Matson, your host of the show, Metric Scout Fantasy Football, where we look at fantasy football from all angles, from redraft to Devy to Dynasty, everything in between. Something you're into, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, tell your homies, get that word out. But today, we're going to be talking about Brandon Aiyuk. Been a controversial character on Twitter lately, social media. A lot of people's been talking about him, and really, he deserves some talk. He had 3 wide receiver 1 weeks, 4 wide receiver 2 weeks last year, led the teams in receiving, targets, air yards. Of course, injuries impacted the offense, but he still was able to produce 748 yards, 5 touchdowns. Any other rookie that does that is catapulted. Aiyuk didn't get that catapult at the end of the season in his player value. However, right now, he's slotted as wide receiver 19 in average draft position, 45.83 overall. Make him like a mid 4th round pick, maybe early 5th round pick in startup drafts. Not too bad. That's a fair price point considering what's involved. And why there are a big group of people not jumping on board is because he received a large opportunity last year due to George Kittle and Deebo Samuel being out with injuries. Kittle played in just 8 games. Samuel played in just 7. Samuel had a weird year. He broke his foot, had a Jones fracture, and did not come back till week 4. After that, when he came back, he was not 100%. He was just playing through pain. And then after that, hamstring injuries impacted him throughout the rest of the year. He missed some games. He was playing through the injuries. You saw him try to work through those injuries, and it just wasn't his best year. Pretty much for Deebo Samuel, you pretty much have to count his second year as his lost season. It was a weird year. He averaged 2.2 average depth of target. It's targeted mostly at the line of scrimmage. Versus a year prior, it was 7.4 in 2019 during his rookie season. Brandon Aiyuk, his average depth of target was pretty solid. It was a 9, so he's getting targeted downfield, which is something we like to see. Wasn't immaculate, but it's good. It's one of the highest on the team. When Kittle was on the field with Aiyuk, his numbers did suffer a little bit. Aiyuk averaged 12.48 fantasy points per game with Kittle, but when Kittle was out, it bumped up to 18.27. So not too bad. Deebo, there wasn't really a difference in their splits with or without. He averaged around 15 points or a little more than 15 fantasy points per game with Deebo Samuel. Aiyuk can play with Deebo and put up numbers. However, it was not a healthy Deebo. So Deebo in 2021 could be a lot different and should be a lot different. Deebo is a highly athletic prospect, 215 pounds, fast, can get downfield, and breaks a lot of tackles. That's what he's known for. He will get those lower A-dot targets. Going back to his rookie season, 7.4 average at the target, closer to the line of scrimmage, but not all the way behind the line of scrimmage all the time. Not a check down option. I think since he had a 2.2 A-dot in 2020, a lot of people were expecting him to be more of a line of scrimmage type of dude. But Deebo can play downfield a little bit. That's not his strong suit. That's deep balls is not his thing. But he can play in the intermediate part of the field. In 2019, he was second on the team in deep balls. That's targets with 20 plus yards. So he was second on the team with 6 deep balls. However, Brandon Aiyuk had 12 last year. So they're going to use Aiyuk down the field. That's what I like about him. He's getting those deeper targets. He's getting a consistent target share, and a 23% target share as a rookie. You don't get that much as a rookie usually. Usually, if you're getting targeted that well as a rookie, whether you're dealing with your teammates being injured or not, there is a good chance for stabilization at least, or growth. There's usually not much of a drop-off from there. I could see Deebo getting his own. Of course, Kittle's going to be used. Kittle is a rare tight end that every team will want to have on their offense. Hyper-athletic, hyper-smooth. As long as he's healthy, he is going to be a key component to the offense. We're looking at whether these guys can impact Aiyuk's ability to produce, and there's a chance, but it's not all the way there. If Jimmy Garoppolo starts the season off at quarterback for the Niners over the last 2 years, he's had a 6.4 average depth of target on his pass attempts. That might hinder Aiyuk a little bit because he's not going to be seeing those deep targets. But I don't see that being a long-term thing. They want to use Trey Lance. I wouldn't be surprised if Trey Lance is the QB week 1. In fact, he probably should be. Trey Lance averaged 11.5 average depth of target in 2019 during his last year in college. However, that was 2019, lower level competition. Deep balls are more prevalent then. But it does give us the insinuation that he wants to chuck it deep. That's something that's in his game, that could be in his game. He's more likely to go that way. If he was playing in the SEC, Big Ten or something, that probably will be lower naturally. But at the NFL level, at least he's going to want to chuck the deep ball. And that's going to fit well with Aiyuk. And Aiyuk wants to get downfield. He is a bursty receiver, 90-some percentile burst score, 4, 5, 40-yard dash time, can get downfield, can blow away past defenses. And what I like about Aiyuk's game, though, is very assertive. He's very aggressive getting in and out of his breaks. He's very assertive after the catch. And this is a trend with his whole 49ers team. Of course, Kittle is a maniac. Deebo Samuel is assertive. He is an aggressive. He likes to break tackles. All three of these pass catchers, their three main weapons, are similar in one way, and that's just their aggressiveness, their assertiveness, their my ball mentality, their win at all costs nature. And I can see that going well, meshing well with Trey Lance. I feel like if Trey Lance is going to hit, it's going to be with this group of receivers. I like Brandon Aiyuk. One thing that does concern me is in 2019, this team had a 49% pass rate, one of the slower offenses in the league, and they went 13-3. So they were winning games, doing what they wanted to do, which is run the ball. In 2020, they only won, 6 games, had a 58% pass rate, so the passing increased. Everybody was hurt, and they threw the ball more. So if things are going right, if things are going their way, and what they want to do happens, is them running the football. I do not see them ever hitting a 49% pass rate again. That's just low. That's just something we're not going to see much from NFL teams. 58% pass rate or less seems right for this team. I do not see them wanting to go air raid. I see them using a stable of backs and running it. That could impact the passing flow of this offense, especially if Deebo and Kittle stays healthy. It could be a mesh of these guys trying to out-position each other for targets. Kittle's going to get his, and then from there, it's whatever's left between Aiyuk and Deebo, which I think all three of these guys can eat a little bit. I think there could be some volatility. If I had to pick between Aiyuk and Deebo, I'd probably go with Aiyuk because he's the younger guy. I'll go with the younger guy. But also, Deebo's probably a little bit cheaper, especially in Dynasty, so you can catch him at a discount. You could be able to get both in some leagues and be fine with it. One of these guys are probably going to hit. Deebo's very good in his own right, breaking tackles, getting yards after the catch. Even though he played 7 games last year and wasn't a factor in a lot of those games, he still led the team with 398 yards after the catch. Deebo did. He is just special in that part of the game. And him getting touches behind the line of scrimmage, carries, those short, quick passes, some intermediate passes, those are going to add up, especially if he's getting those yak. And if he gets the yak and everything plays right for him on those targets, it's just going to build more targets. Aiyuk, though, is already hitting as a rookie, and that should just stay similar, if not increase, going into next year. I do not see his volume decreasing. If anything, if Deebo plays well, Aiyuk is probably going to hover around what he did last year, probably about 90 to 100 targets. Deebo's probably going to be somewhere around that range. Kittle's going to be well. They're going to throw it more if it's working well. They're going to go with what works. So if Deebo's hitting, Aiyuk's hitting, Kittle's hitting, then they're going to go with what hits. And that's going to open up the run game. If injuries hit, then you're going to see a transformation with how the targets are. Another thing that may impact his offense is Trey Lance. They may want to slow things down for him, make things as easy as possible for him to transition. That may be more rushing attempts. That may be slowing things down between plays, which they were already slow before. They may be even slower. We saw that last year with their plays ran bottom third in the league. Bottom third in the league the year prior, so more than likely, same coaching staff, new quarterback, trying to gel, probably going to be in the bottom third in the league in plays ran this year, which is all right. Brandon Aiyuk was able to produce a little bit, so he should be able to produce with this. It's going to be a conundrum, though, with these three guys. I expect at least volatility with some good upside with Aiyuk. That's probably his floor. Volatility with some good upside, but I think his ceiling is a wide receiver 1. And I can say the same with Debo. His ceiling is pretty high, too, and I'm not against you drafting either one, wanting either player. Debo's cheaper, Aiyuk's younger. Aiyuk's 23, Debo's 25. I can see Debo being a little bit more prone to injury just because of the style of his play. He's very aggressive. He takes on tacklers. He breaks tackles. That's just how it goes with players that are more aggressive. Aiyuk's, again, he's a younger prospect. His value is more age-insulated. If Debo has another injury-riddled year, his dynasty stock's going to drop. Aiyuk's, however, if he has, a good start to the season, gets hurt, and then has a decent end or something, misses like 4 games or something, that's not going to impact him. He's going to be fine. He'll at least hover around the same value in Dynasty. So that makes me feel a little bit more safer with Aiyuk as long as he's playing well. But I do like him Dynasty. I do like him in redraft, especially where they're going at in drafts. I think that's a fair price point to pay for him. Wide receiver 19, 4th to 5th round pick. I think that value is going to go up as we get closer to redraft season, as we get closer to September once game starts, because people are going to start realizing we had a rookie last year, 748 yards receiving, led the team in air yards, led the team in targets, 5 touchdowns, is going to be mainly the deep threat. They use some other guys downfield as well, but he gets deeper targets compared to the other 2 main guys in the offense. So that at least ups his ceiling a little bit because he can reel in some deep targets if they're in a shootout and they're wheeling some to Debo, wheeling some to Kittle, and there's a distribution of targets that's not fully going our way. I feel like Aiyuk is going to be all right. So to recap, I feel pretty good about Brandon Aiyuk, especially at his price point, wide receiver 19 in startup drafts, due to his age, due to his role in the offense, his ability to get downfield with what Trey Lance wants to do. I also like Debo, so if you like either one of those players, you're good. I think they're both good players. I think Debo's very talented. I think Brandon Aiyuk's pretty talented. That's why there's a disconnect, because we have 2 talented players in the same offense. One has to do better than the other, but they both can be good in fantasy, especially once this offense starts to open up. But it's not going to be this year. I don't think so, unless they get in some shootouts. And if that happens, then it's going to be wheels up for both of these wide receiver prospects. One of them has to do better than the other. They both have wide receiver 1 upside on them, but they both have pretty stable floors unless injuries kick in. I want to thank you for watching the show. It means a lot to me. Make sure you hit subscribe on the way out, ring the bell, tell all your homies and friends, spread the word, and I'll catch you next time.